My sister brought her kids to my child-free wedding and went hysterical when I kicked them out. She thought she can gain sympathy on her social media post, but she got backlash instead. I am getting married next month, and I've been planning this wedding for almost a year. My fiancé and I agreed we wanted an adults-only event, mostly because we envisioned a more formal evening. The problem is my sister, who has 2 kids, 5 and 7. When I first mentioned the no-kids policy, she didn't seem too upset, but as we got closer to the wedding, she started dropping hints about how hard it would be for her to find a sitter. I understand it's tough, but I offered to pay for a local sitter to stay with her kids at her hotel for the night so she could attend the wedding without worrying. Well, she didn't like that suggestion. She says it's unfair because our other sister's wedding 3 years ago was family-friendly and allowed kids, but at the time, our niece and nephew were much younger and quieter. At this age, they're energetic and love running around, and they tend to get cranky at night, which isn't what I want on my wedding day. It's become a big point of contention. She's now saying that if her kids aren't invited, she's unsure if she'll attend, which hurts a bit. My mom has told me it is our choice since we are the ones getting married, and I feel like I've been flexible and offered a good solution, but she's making me feel guilty for not bending this rule for the family. Update. So, after the last post, my now husband and I decided to allow kids at the ceremony, but keep the reception adults only. My sister wasn't thrilled, but said she would figure something out. The ceremony was beautiful. My niece and nephew had their iPads, so they were still well behaved, and for a moment, I thought everything would go smoothly. How naive I was. After the ceremony, my newlywed husband and I stayed to take some more photos, and then we moved to the reception. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my sister, her husband, and the kids. I thought she was waiting for someone to pick them up and didn't think much of it. Then, about 20 minutes later, my nephew bolted across the room and between tables, nearly colliding with my stepfather. I looked at my maid of honor and we walked over to my sister. Keeping my voice low, I reminded her that the reception was adults only. She sighed dramatically like I was ruining her life and said, "We couldn't find a sitter last minute, so we'll keep them for a little while." No. I calmly told her that I had given her multiple options, including a fully vetted, well-recommended sitter and her in-laws, but she said no to the sitter and didn't ask her in-laws. She shrugged and said, "Well, we're already here, and they're behaving fine." At that exact moment, the glass shattered, and my heart dropped. The entire room went dead silent. I looked around, trying to figure out what happened. I saw my aunt lifting my nephew and handing him to my stepdad. He was fortunately okay. He didn't step in any glass because my lovely aunt was close enough to control the situation. My nephew had been crawling under the tables and must have pulled the tablecloth by accident, making a plate and a few glasses fall and shatter. I returned to my sister and told her she needed to get the kids home now, and she lost her mind. My sister started yelling. She said, "I can't believe you're choosing a stupid rule over your own family. You're being a total bridezilla, and you're kicking out your own niece and nephew like they're stray dogs." At this point, people were staring. My husband came over to back me up, and my sister's husband came to calm her down. She said she couldn't drive them home since she had already had something to drink. My brother-in-law said he would drive them to his parents' place. She got even more mad and said she couldn't leave her kids just to be at a wedding. My mom told her that she could leave, and my sister stormed out while muttering about how I was selfish and heartless. My BIL stood there looking embarrassed before awkwardly getting their kids, apologizing to me and my husband, and following her out. I thought the drama was over, but nah. The next morning, my sister posted a full-on rant about how I humiliated her in front of everyone and made her choose between her kids and her family. She claimed I was targeting her for having a fancy wedding and excluding her kids, and she heavily implied that I had disinvited her because I hated being an aunt and hated her kids. Luckily, my godsent mom and dad were not having it. They had both jumped into the comments to set the record straight, saying I had given her plenty of options and she was fully aware of the rule months in advance. I offered to pay for a sitter that she refused to use. I didn't want to get into it and just turned off the phone. A few days after the wedding, my BIL called me to apologize. He admitted that he had begged my sister to accept my offer of a sitter or leave the kids with his parents, but she refused because she thought I'd cave at the last minute. He was mortified by how she acted and told me he had no idea she would make a scene like that. They got into a huge fight afterward because he was embarrassed that she made a huge scene. My sister did not speak to me since the wedding, though she took down the post. We went on our honeymoon, and it was so much fun. My sister called to apologize during the trip, but she belittled me for kicking her out of the wedding. So, that's fun, I guess. Do I regret kicking her out? No. My wedding was so much better after she left. Am I mad about the Facebook post? Not really. My mom and dad dragged her so hard in the comments that she eventually deleted it. Am I still talking to my sister? Barely.